Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over a developing topic as we get closer to the primary in the state of Georgia, but the Trump-backed candidate, former Senator David Perdue, has really struggled to find his footing in the primary for governor in Georgia against Governor Brian Kemp, which to me is leading to this question I'm posing, which is Brian Kemp poised to upset David Perdue in the Georgia governor's race? So before I get into the rest of the video, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you are not currently subscribed. So with that said, a new poll has come out of Fox 5, the Fox delegation channel in, I believe it's Atlanta, and Insider Advantage, which is, I believe, a Republican polling firm. And in this poll, they found that Brian Kemp leads David Perdue in a Republican governor's race primary. So why is this important? Well, number one, this poll came out on March 4th, so this is about as recent as a poll as you can get for this race, and still shows Brian Kemp in the lead, and if anything, his lead is not diminishing. Brian Kemp leads David Perdue by 9 points, with 44% to 35%. Now, it's also 750 likely Republican primary voters, so 750 voters is not a ton, but Brian Kemp being at 44% still proves that he has an advantage at this time, which for an incumbent candidate to have 44%, it may not be the strongest position, but for David Perdue, who is endorsed by the former president, only having 35, in a state and a party that the former president has a lot of influence over, is not the best sign for David Perdue. Now, what's also important to note in this poll, and I'm going to scroll down to get this correct just to make sure, 15% of the people in this poll say they're still undecided. And why would they be undecided between Kemp and Perdue? Well, because as poor as Perdue's campaign is doing at this moment, Brian Kemp is still either underwater or very close to being underwater in the state of Georgia. So I think more Republicans disapprove of Kemp in the state than approve, yet he's still able to get 44% of the vote. And one reason David Perdue is lagging behind Brian Kemp is his campaign is in shambles, but fundraising is very important, especially in midterm races. I don't know if fundraising gets the attention that it does. I mean, it is very important, but I think it's honestly a lot more important than people realize. And Brian Kemp is outraising David Perdue by a lot, and it's not even close. So, not the reason that Kemp is up is just fundraising, but it's certainly better for Kemp that he's outraising Perdue by these amount of numbers. And now, just to go to the Wikipedia page for the Georgia governor's race in the primary, I just showed you one recent poll. One thing I like about Wikipedia, which I know everyone likes to say, well, Wikipedia isn't really reliable. In my experience, when it comes to political races, they seem to have pretty accurate and good information, actually. You just kind of have to look at it and see what's important and what's not. The graphical summary of the polling data in the primary is actually pretty good because I think it helps visualize it very well. Brian Kemp is not at 50% of the vote, which is the threshold you need to cross to avoid a runoff in Georgia. However, he is sitting just below 45% at 45.3% according to Electoral Politics, and on this chart about 44.7 or so percent. And David Perdue is sitting right here on the line at 35% or 37% in the Electoral Politics average. So this race is not over, but it is a recent trend where David Perdue has not led in any of these polls done in the primary. And the closest he's gotten is honestly right now, which is 9 points. And last month, 9 points as well. But for some reason, David Perdue is having a hard time closing the gap in this race. They also did a runoff poll back in August and back in December. Only one poll had David Perdue in the runoff getting 47% to 44%. So he's ahead in that one, but that's still 9% undecided. What I'm trying to get at is, if Brian Kemp is such an unpopular candidate, and by all primary polls showing Brian Kemp's approval rating is underwater, why is David Perdue not having an easy time kind of dethroning the incumbent governor? Well, incumbency could play a big advantage, but also something that's not being weighed, I think, enough is David Perdue was just on the ballot in Georgia and lost. And I understand the 2020 election was a presidential election year that Democrats did very well in. So that may not be the most accurate case for 2022, but it has to be played into account. Kind of how Martha McSally lost 2 elections in a row. If David Perdue just lost and is going to be on the ballot again, some voters who maybe don't really have such a strong opinion of Kemp or maybe Perdue may just see Perdue on the ballot and is like, well, he lost. Maybe we should have somebody else. And that's why Brian Kemp could be up right now. I also did want to take a look at the Electoral Politics polling average at this time, which shows Republicans are still up 3. So this is not a situation of Stacey Abrams is polling better or something like that, and that's why Perdue is down. This is all David Perdue not doing a good enough job on capitalizing on the situation in this race. 538 has done some polls in this governor's race, and whether it's Perdue or Kemp versus Stacey Abrams, even if the Republicans are leading, it's close. And there are some polls in which Stacey Abrams is leading or is tied. So this race is going to be close no matter what, but the longer this primary goes on is probably only going to be worse for the Republicans in this state. But David Perdue is not able to close the gap as of right now. Lastly, to end the video, I made a little updated map for the Georgia governor's race between Brian Kemp and David Perdue. Right now, I think it's more likely than not that this will go to a runoff primary. And I think David Perdue's streak of losing in runoffs is honestly going to continue. I think David Perdue will win by about 3 to 4 percentage points and be the Republican nominee for governor again. And it's just, I don't know what it is about David Perdue, but he is not able to catch steam in any way in this race. He's having trouble fundraising. He's having trouble polling. His name recognition is certainly out there. He just got endorsed by the former president and ran for Senate. And his family has a long political ties in the state of Georgia. But he's not able to catch on, so much so that Brian Kemp is outperforming him. So even though we still have about 2 months to go until the primary, I do think Brian Kemp is narrowly favored to win at this time in the state of Georgia. So that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've liked this video and you found it interesting, please sure to give the video a like and leave a comment below. Tell me what you think of it. Also, if you have any thoughts about this race and what you think is going on with the primary, leave a comment below. Tell me what you think about that as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.